All right. Onana departure from Manchester United is that close. And guess what? An agreement has been agreed in principle between Manchester United and Trabzonspor, and it now remains in the hands of Andre Onana to come out and obviously let us know whether he really wants to leave or not. Welcome to this channel, and this is one of the big stories that I've gone ahead obviously take us on, and it's really very exciting that a deal of Andre Onana might be really close to Trabzonspor in there for you. So smash the like button, comment and share. If you're totally watching us for the very first time, endeavor to subscribe to this channel so as not to miss out on stories that we do upload in here on a daily. Androkan David, he's my name in there for you. And today, the man known as Fabrizio Romano has gone ahead obviously drop another bomber. And what was the bomber all about? The bomber was all about Andre Onana. And what did the bomber say? The bomber said, breaking, Trabzonspor reach verbal agreement with Manchester United to sign Andre Onana on loan. Club-to-club verbal agreement in place, and final decision now up to Andre Onana. It's only up to the goalkeeper. Now, this is really one of the huge stories to ever get onto this weekend that is really very boring, because you know how international sport is really boring. You know, club football is really one of the best places where you obviously feel like you really get a vibe. And a weekend like this, if at all the Premier League was on, we all know to it that would have gone ahead to be vibing to the Premier League, to the Premier League fever in there for different teams that would have gone to obviously take place into this particular game of football. But right now, this is a very huge story coming in from Fabrizio Romano, and he has told us that Trabzonspor have reached an agreement with Manchester United. They haven't gone ahead to reach an agreement with the player yet, but they've gone ahead to reach that agreement with what we call the player known as Andre Onana. Manchester United is really working tooth and nail to obviously find themselves a solution for obviously offloading one of the goalkeepers in there for you, because you can't be having three goalkeepers where two of those want to command the first or the starting position into your team. And I really went ahead to hint on this hugely when Manchester United went ahead and obviously signed a player known as Lamens, because for Lamens, it was really written all over the wall that all what the club of Manchester United was really doing and was all up to was simple. Manchester United spending £20 million onto a player was an indicator that they are obviously going to be signing, or they've gone ahead to sign what we call a first choice goalkeeper, not a second choice goalkeeper. And Andre Onana, in this case, he doesn't wish to be an understudy for a goalkeeper like Lamens, because Andre Onana is going to hit his 30s, and right now all he needs is to obviously go out and really revive his career. I think that's what he's supposed to do. When you look at Trabzonspor, it is placed into what we call the Turkish Professional Sport Club or League in there, and they are second onto the table as Galatasaray has gone ahead to play 4 games and it has 12 points. Trabzonspor has played 4 games, 3 wins, 1 draw, and they do have what we call a goal difference of 3, and they're really having 10 goals as their goal difference in there for you. So, if I'm Andre Onana, I have to admit that it's done with Manchester United. You know, I really dispute everyone who says that Andre Onana is a very bad goalkeeper. I don't really agree with that. I think he's a good goalkeeper who came in throughout Manchester United and things never really went ahead to work out well for him. That is it. So, for a side known as Manchester United, I think it will be a better deal, because you take Andre Onana, you loan him out. After loaning him out, you know what happens? You obviously find yourself in a situation of really getting him a very a very, very huge passage of obviously coming up and obviously turning around his journey in there for you and turning around his career, because setbacks are not bad, especially in an affair like this. I tell you, setbacks are not really bad. They are really good, especially if at all you really have what we call a right mentality. And for a player like Andre Onana, I think he never spent most of his time in Africa, because if he had spent most of his time in Africa, I would have gone ahead to obviously worry. But he was really brought into he was really brought to the club of Manchester United. You understand? Sorry, he was brought into Europe by Samuel Eto'o early enough, meaning that his mentality is really top notch, and I don't really worry about him. So, taking a step back to obviously get loaned to what we call Trabzonspor, you understand, and you find yourself in a position of reviving your career, and other teams will obviously come in for you. And I tell you, big teams will obviously come back for Andre Onana come the summer. You understand? Because all they need is to see what his results or what his performances are going to be like. Because he has been a goalkeeper that proved to the world that he's really good at Ajax. He played in the semi-finals of the Champions League at Ajax, and he was really very instrumental into what Ajax went ahead to achieve in there. You really get me? So from there, you obviously have to understand that the side of Manchester United also got him in after what he went ahead to obviously do at Inter Milan. He was the best goalkeeper in there. Let's all admit, he was really the best goalkeeper, you understand, into what we call that tournament of what we call the Champions League, where Man City beat Inter Milan in the final, you understand. And by the way, Andre Onana would have gone ahead to obviously find himself winning that Champions League if at all Romelu Lukaku came up and obviously killed off his chances. But Romelu Lukaku was really very wasteful in that aspect of the game. So I think he really proved himself. And I really laugh at everyone who says, Onana is a very bad goalkeeper. And I've gone ahead to see people attaching it to Eric Ten Hag that he brought in very bad players. And I really need to address that. You understand? All the players that Eric Ten Hag brought in, all of them hit the ground running in the first season. That is it. Almost all of those players. You understand? When you look at Andre Onana, I think he's the only one who came in through and really had a very bad season. But Mason Mount was obviously laid off by the injuries, but you see to it that he's really improving and really putting in performances. Lisandro Martinez, very good player. Malacia, apart from the 2 injuries that were really concurrent that he got, I think his debut season was really out of this world. He was one of the best left backs in the league by a mile, or by a country mile. Eriksson, he came in through and obviously proved to us how good talent can obviously make a player thrive more than his age. You understand? Casemiro, you know what he did at the club of Manchester United. He needs no further explanation in there for you. For Anthony, he blossomed for some good games, like 6-7 games, and he really went ahead to obviously light off. I don't know what really caused that. But the second summer, that's when Andre Onana came in through, Mason Mount came in through, Rasmus Hojlund came in through. In his first season, Rasmus Hojlund went ahead to score 16 goals. You understand? And 10 in the Premier League, 5 in the Champions League, and 1 in the I think he scored 1 was in the FA Cup in there, So the club of Manchester United and its fans really need to understand that this guy is good, And for Rasmus Hojlund to show you that he's really that good, Napoli has gone ahead to put out a buyout clause of 85 million euros. And you see how Napoli is obviously going to be getting in money, because I've just gone ahead to do a video in the morning and I told my fans here, or the people that subscribe to this channel, that Benjamin Sesko is more technically gifted than Rasmus Hojlund. He has a better hold-up play and link-up play in there. But Rasmus Hojlund is a better finisher than Benjamin Sesko. And I've gone ahead to see someone say, how do you say that Rasmus Hojlund is better than Benjamin Sesko? I never said that Rasmus Hojlund is better than Benjamin Sesko. I said hold up play, link up play, technical abilities, game awareness, Benjamin Sesko is really better. But I told you that one attribute that I can even put my life on is goal finishing, being clinical. Rasmus Hojlund is more clinical than a player known as Benjamin Sesko. And it was like, how I'm even going to leave the channel, please. If you want to leave the channel, leave. I'm giving my opinion. Instead of saying you're leaving the channel, come out and back me with facts. I'm telling you, Rasmus Hojlund in his debut season at Manchester United scored 16 goals. You get? And out of those 16 goals, only 5, I think, came in through as assists. 10 goals, he improvised and really found himself scoring those goals, meaning that when you obviously go ahead and really get him what we call as chances and you feed him in, you know what really happens. So, most of the players that Erik Ten Hag brought in, Matthias de Ligt, he's looking good. Mazarawi is looking good. Joshua Zirkzee looking good. You understand? So, I really hate it when I really see people say he really brought in players that were not good. You understand? So, I want to let you know that these players also reach a time and they obviously fail. For example, look at Liverpool. The main man at Liverpool in the recent years, for over a decade, I think now, is Mohamed Salah. And Salah was signed by Chelsea and he flopped. He went ahead to flop. That is Mohamed Salah for you. He went ahead and he flopped. But when he went to Italy, I think that was it Napoli or AS Roma, one of those two teams, he returned to England and he turned out to be one of the best players in the world. The other player that went ahead to obviously do that and obviously left Chelsea was Kevin De Bruyne. Kevin De Bruyne went ahead to obviously find himself in a position of really coming in through at Chelsea, and he really looked bad. They sold him to Hoffenheim, and that's where Pep Guardiola signed him and brought him at City, and he turned into what he is right about now. So that's exactly what is really happening in there for you. And what we should pray for is that let Andrew Onana go ahead and really accept this. And if Kevin De Bruyne and Salah by then, who hadn't gone ahead to prove themselves onto the world stage, obviously went back and really got into where we want them to be, and they really proved they were really the best, why not Andrew Onana, who has proven himself at even what we call a world stage? So that's where we call in for the lad known as Andrew Onana to obviously coming through and really put in a very huge shift into the mix and see to it that all really goes on well as planned. But I tell you, Trabzonspor wants the player, and the player is also one of those that has to obviously come in through and really accept that he's needed and he has to leave, because nothing's obviously going to be happening with him at Manchester United. He's one of those that the manager has totally fallen out with. You understand? So, the lad known as Andrew Onana looks like he's really getting close to obviously accepting this team, because Fabrizio Romano has just gone ahead to obviously retweet what he really posted earlier, meaning that there is a very huge activity happening. And if at all I'm Andrew Onana, I obviously get to that side, because I think there are only two windows that are still open: the window of Turkey and the window of the Saudi Pro League. You understand? Because the others are really closed, and one ends around the 9th, and I think the other one around the 10th or 11th in there. So if I'm Andrew Onana, I have to admit that maybe things didn't work out well as planned, and all we need to do is let's obviously get a setback and find ourselves in a position of really accepting that we haven't been at our best at the club of Manchester United, and we won't really cause havoc in here, and we won't really get into the starting 11 of the manager, and we have to find ourselves in a position of really getting the best of the best in here onto the club of Manchester United. And I know Andrew Onana will accept because he doesn't see himself getting into that number one spot because Beyinda is going to be the second choice goalkeeper and Lamens is going to be the first choice goalkeeper, meaning that the club of Manchester United is obviously going to be putting in a very huge shift altogether to see to it that we really get in the best out of Lamens. And right now, if you are to rate these goalkeepers, that means Andrew Onana is a third choice goalkeeper. And why would you keep at a club when you're really a third choice goalkeeper? And what do you need there? You understand? The best thing is you leave and obviously get the best out of the best of yourself and use Trabzonspor as a springboard to find yourself in a position of really winning the world and really getting back to the levels where the world needs you. I've gone hate to see the side of Inter Milan wanting to sign the player, and I know United will be willing to sell him obviously in there because most of the clubs are like, maybe they don't want to sell him, maybe they'll sell him, and others fear to come in through because they know that if at all they come in right now, they'll obviously sell him expensively, you understand. But if the club of Manchester United comes in through and really says we've loaned you to Trabzonspor, that means they're really parted ways totally, and his agent will obviously try to talk to other teams and really find the best of the best for his player known as Andrea Onana. So I'm really gonna get into your comment section and see how things are obviously gonna be panning out. Rivers Keith says he should go ASAP. That is it. Charles Malema says let Onana go, where he will happily be playing with less pressure. All right. Willie Kivumbi, safe journey. Herbert says, good evening, Mr. Aradi. Thanks for updating us with the beautiful news. All right, thank you. Then Alfred Keninyi Bingira, are you sure if Onana will leave? I think he'll leave. He'll leave, and I know he has to consider this option because that's the only avenue that can obviously see him really get into the best of the best. Because the club of Manchester United, has done a lot, and they feel like they've given him those 2 seasons, have been enough for him, and they don't see him really improving. You understand? And all you have to pray for is that the likes of Lamens that have gone here to come in through also come in and really put in a very huge shift altogether. But for Andrew Onana, his journey with Manchester United obviously came to an end the moment we saw to it that even when he was really back, the manager couldn't obviously start him any game because the first choice goalkeeper when he returns, it's not all about fitness so it's not about much fitness, it's all about him getting back to his position. And the manager was like, let me get in a goalkeeper. And I was really furious when they brought in Lamens and never really brought in a CDM because I really know exactly what it means. Manchester United is obviously going to be suffering hard, especially in that midfield battle when you're really playing. Maybe the manager was like, I would rather get in Lamens and really offload Andrew Onana because I feel like it won't really make some public sense in there. And he's like, I cannot risk my job with Andrew Onana. He might obviously cost me a job in there. So we pray to it that Lamens also finds himself in a proper position of really producing what we really expect from him. That is it from the club of Manchester United. And they are really ready to see to it that all really goes on well as planned. And for them, they've already gone ahead to agree deal with Trabzonspor. And now it comes to the player to obviously come out and really agree this or not. If the player agrees, that will be really the best of the best, that the club will obviously come out and say, thank you, Andrew Onana. Thank you for what you've gone ahead to do. You've really acted more professional. And we tell you, you have gone ahead, obviously, make the right decision for your career. And if you're Andrew Onana, obviously, you have to weigh in and say, you are really playing for Man United. You're not playing for Manchester United, and you want to obviously find a new client. Where are you obviously going to be getting that client? If at all, you don't come up and obviously do the needful. You understand? And the only thing you're supposed to do is simple. Get out and really play. Because if he continues not to play any games, even at the national team, he will lose his obviously he will lose his starting position in there for you, because when they're really playing against Estuani, where when was this? 4th September, you understand? He was in between the stitches, and in the World Cup qualifier, where everyone is obviously watching all over the world, these are really games you're supposed to obviously use to obviously send a message to people, all other teams, that I'm Andre Onana and I can obviously do the needful. You understand? So by so doing, Andre Onana has to come up and really live up to the expectations of really playing in the African Cup of Nations, in December. And you never know, if it really appears well or looks well in these World Cup qualifiers, then comes to the African Cup of Nations and really looks well, a team might come in through during the January transfer window and say, we want to sign Andre Onana on a permanent deal. That is also possible. So a lot can happen for Andre Onana if he really keeps himself upright and keeps doing the best of him, and he really keeps himself out of Manchester United to go elsewhere and really get in ample playing time as a player. I think that's the advice I can really give to him, accepting that it has failed at Manchester United. That is it. And failing at Manchester United doesn't mean that you are not good enough. You understand? Andre Onana is good enough. He's one of the best goalkeepers in the world, but his career at Manchester United didn't go on as planned. And for everyone who is obviously coming out and criticizing him that he's bad, can I really go back when we signed him in the summer of 2023 and see what you guys really were talking about him? We are all like, David De Gea went ahead to cost us close to 6-7 goals in that season of 2022-2023 because he's not a ball-playing goalkeeper. We need in a ball-playing goalkeeper who is really a short stopper. That was what we're obviously saying about Andre Onana, and we bought him for 40 million euros from Inter Milan to the club of Manchester United. So I think, let's all admit, things have failed out at Manchester United for him, and all he has to do is simple. He has to look elsewhere, and he should walk with his head high, that he has come in at Manchester United and things have gone ahead to fail. And when things fail in here, it doesn't mean that you are not good. You understand? He's a good goalkeeper, but things haven't gone ahead to obviously go out and work out well at the club of Manchester United. That is it. So Manchester United is really doing the needful to obviously offload him and really see to it that they really cash in for him, maybe in the January transfer window or the summer transfer window. Oyika Moses, let him go. I'm tired of stupid mistakes season after season. Let me tell you, will you obviously say the same things if Atola Mens keeps doing the same mistakes and United keeps conceding? Because I've always come out and really told you that the club of Manchester United has always had difficulties when it comes to what we call the goalkeeping department. You understand? And it's only, I think, 3 goalkeepers that have gone ahead to stand out and obviously survived the storm or really not succumb to the pressure of that goalkeeping department for the club of Manchester United. It's Peter Schmeichel, Edwin van der Sar, and David De Gea. In a period of 30 years, only 3 goalkeepers have managed to obviously see to it that they can obviously find that pressure into their so-called area of comfort. You understand? Or turning that pressure into comfort. You understand? So those are few goalkeepers in there. And I want to let you know that the club of Manchester United and Lamens, they need to brief him, because I don't know whether the manager will throw him directly into the game of Man City, but I tell you, that's what the manager has to do. Because if you think that Beinda will come in through and obviously be in between the stitches, if he performs well against Man City, won't you find it hard to obviously take him out of that goal? And if you bring in Lamens and Lamens makes a stupid mistake in his debut, what will you tell the fans? The fans will obviously say, we want our Bayenda in. Because for me, I know the fans. I went ahead to see how Arsenal fans reacted. The problem was that when they were playing against RC Lons, you saw the mistakes that David Raya went ahead to do and Arsenal went ahead to lose that game. You remember, the fans were like, please and please and please and please and please and please, get back our Aaron Ramsdale. He has been there and not doing any mistakes. You understand? So that's exactly how things really happen with the fans. You understand? So let's give Lamens a chance and see how he'll obviously feature. But I think he'll obviously have a very good go. And if I'm the manager of Manchester United, I get Lamens in immediately. I send the message to the fans of Man United that Lamens is your first choice goalkeeper. That is it. And to show to it that he's the first choice goalkeeper of Manchester United, throw him in that game of Man City immediately. Next weekend, Lamens should be in between the stitches for the club of Manchester United. Because if you really get in Bayenda and he really does well, the moment you bench Bayenda and starting Lamens throughout, and he doesn't obviously come out, obviously put in a very huge shift, fans will obviously hate this goalkeeper for nothing. So, Amorim, please, I know you might watch this channel or you watch it. Do the needful. Get in a player known as Lamens into the goalkeeping department of Manchester United, period. You understand? Let's not even double think or think twice. It's a done deal. You understand? It's a done deal in there for you, and that's what United should be doing. Throw in Lamens as up. You understand? So, Oika Moses, bro, tell me about Cunha's injury when is he coming back? I did that story in the morning. They say his injury is not all that serious, and Matheus Cunha might obviously show up when you're playing against City. You understand? He's back at Carrington doing the gym work, the rehabilitation, and I've already said the problem we are really having at Manchester United and Cunha is that we've let him carry the ball we've let him cover long distances while carrying the ball. For me, I really hate that. If he does it once or twice in a game, it's okay. But you see to it that every time he plays, he has to obviously drop deep and really be given that ball. What does that mean? Our midfield is really having a problem. All we need to do is simple. Let's get Lamens out of this. Let's get Cunha, from dropping really deep. Let the midfield connect to the attacking line. That means the midfield is not doing its job. That's why the lad really drops deep to obviously come and really pick that ball. And I tell you, each and every time Kobe Mainoo is really playing, because it is that his best attribute is to connect the midfield to the attack, those players won't obviously drop deep. And if you want to minimize on the injuries of Brian Mbeumo and Cunha, we should obviously reduce on the distance they obviously cover each and every time you're really having the ball. Let them obviously be in the opponent's half, and let's have a midfielder that can link the midfield to the attack. If you really watch the game of Arsenal and Liverpool, there is that pass that a player called Zubimendi went ahead to obviously release and really give to Noni Madueke. And Noni Madueke went ahead to obviously give Kakeizi on the carrier. Though Kakeizi went ahead to obviously recover with huge pace and obviously stopped Noni Madueke from obviously shooting at goal. But that all happened because of Zubimendi. So we need such passes for these players. Let these players run towards the opponent, and let them use most of their energies the opponents have, not them dropping deep to come and really pick that ball. I really don't fancy that. Timothy says, may the Lord renew your strength after your loan move. Obviously, I think his strength will be renewed. I'm 100% sure, because all he needs is to obviously get this setback and obviously returning back to the basics. And he'll obviously self-meditate and really understand that, yes, I needed this. And after needing this, I'll bounce back big and better. So guys, thank you very much for watching through. Rokan David is my name. I call upon for your reactions into the comment section below about Andre Onana to Trabzonspor interest in, as an agreement has been reached between Manchester United and Trabzonspor, but it is waiting for an approval from Andre Onana, who is really in the African Cup of Nations with his country known as Cameroon. Cameroon, on the 4th, they really beat Eswatini by 4-0, and Mbeumo was really on fire because he came up and obviously put in a very huge shift, and he really went ahead to score. Sorry, to really put out 2 assists. Now, after that game, Andre Onana will play against Cape Verde away. That is on the 9th of September. So that means a decision will have to be taken either before this game is played or after this game is played, because the boy needs to be in huge, really huge shape. And let me tell you, why is this game very important between Cameroon and Cape Verde? Cameroon and Cape Verde is very important because Cape Verde is topping their group, and you know that whoever tops the group in this African Cup of Nations, in the World Cup qualifiers, he's obviously going to go to the World Cup directly. And if Cameroon beat Cape Verde, they will be left with just 2 games to obviously find themselves qualifying, and they'll be having to play Mauritius and Angola. You understand? So Cameroon is really working hard to see to it that they obviously secure that win from a side known as Cape Verde, meaning that they won't need any distortions. And if Andre Onana is to decide, he has to decide today or tomorrow, and see to it that by the time they get into the game, a decision has already been taken. Now, London Banda, our manager, is now a big problem because he likes to experiment a lot, and I'm sure he will not start our new goalkeeper. He has to start him. You know, throw him in, and obviously let the people know to it that you sign him because you've gone ahead to dislodge Onana to Trabzonspor, and then you've gone ahead to bring in this one as the first choice goalkeeper. So thank you for everyone who has been part of this video, and I'm waiting for your reactions into the comment section below. Rokan David is out, and